to check another thing. And so I use App Annie for category ranks or for reviews ratings. I use App Tweak mainly for keywords. I think they're really good in that. Then I use App Follow for ratings and reviews and some additional features that they have. Of course, I use the developer consoles on a daily basis. There's loads of data there as well. And I would say the way I decide which tool I want to use, I think it's best if a third-party tool, for example, let's say App Follow, App Tweak, if they're specialized in one thing, like keywords or ratings, I feel that I can trust that they're going to develop this part and that I can get a really holistic view of that one area that I'm looking at. So I really appreciate if a tool has is working on their core feature, let's say. And of course, these additional features are also very useful. And for automation, this is a big issue for me personally, like in my company. There's the issue of a lacking API for App Store Connect data. There's a lot of manual work that I have to do still. So we're really working hard on automating things right now.
Hi, I also use a lot of different combination of third-party tools. Icon has a limited budget, so I'm always trying to maximize it and get the free plans from the different third-party tools. First of all, also definitely using Google Console and iTunes, looking at the different sources, search, explore, and also like a few people mentioned, the rating benchmark that Google recently put out is great, also their A/B testing. In terms of the third-party tools, I use Mobile Action for search volume, competition, and chance, App Annie for overall ranking, keyword ranking, and to see when we were featured. I also use App Follow for our reviews, and I use ASO Desk to get daily emails overview of our rankings.
Okay, so we actually have an in-house developed platform that we use that covers probably 80% of all our needs. We've been developing for quite some time, and as Morris also mentioned, it's very hard to maintain such a platform because you have to program a lot to collect all the data. There's no APIs available, so we have that. We do use, however, services such as App Tweak and Split Metrics for testing, and also third-party services that have access to so much data that they're able to give out category benchmarks, and so we can set sort of KPIs. And the one thing though is that they vary from a service to service. So somewhere you see 15% is a great conversion rate, but somewhere else it could be 10% or 5%, and you don't really know how you're doing. And even at Mail.ru, we do have the benefit of comparing, because there's such a wide portfolio of apps that we can compare in certain categories, but I feel like that's an issue with these kind of services and the data that they give. And yeah, I think.
Yeah, it actually looks that we all have quite a standard set of tools we use, and Skyscanner is no exception here. However, what I'd like to add is that not all problems can be covered with existing solutions. And therefore, at Skyscanner, just as Mail.ru Group do, we invest into in-house tooling development as well. And why we do this? Skyscanner is a very user-centric company, and it is a very localized product with separate teams working on different markets. And so we end up with really interesting challenges here. For example, how to make sure that we get our app on a global scale, however However, we know growth drivers for every specific market, or how to analyze our app as a part of the big business, and how to stay data-driven in our decisions, and also how to predict impact from our ASO and app marketing activities rather than just blind. And we have quite a few tools that allow us to answer to these questions and find correct decisions. Two of them are actually Tableau and causal impact analysis. Well, second is quite a boring statistical, analytical method. However, Skyscanner savvy engineers were able to turn this very boring statistical method into a really nice in-house solution. And so why we use Tableau is that because there are so many tools, ASO tools, app analytics tools, and also native dashboards of App Store and Google Play, and they store insane amount of data. However, I personally believe, my very humble opinion, that we marketers, we don't use even a third of what we have. And what Tableau allows us to do, it allows us to work with all these, to start working with all this raw data and build reports meaningful, specifically for Skyscanner, and also combine data from different sources to start analyzing an app as a part of the big business, which is quite cool. And having all this data on the back end, on front end, we marketers, without any engineering support, are able to build quite interesting solutions. For example, prediction tools to predict results from our growth activities based on specific channel, whether it is organic or it is paid acquisition, and we are able to predict it based on historical and expected installs, or let me say conversion uplift, and historical behavior of users coming from a specific channel. And the second, of course, I appreciate that not everything in ASO can be tracked that easily and analyzed that easily, unfortunately, because sometimes change is so small that it's really hard to say whether it is your action that brought this result, or it is just a statistical fluctuation. And so we use causal impact analysis that allows us to actually filter out data for a specific channel, and then even it with with data from alike markets and periods, and only after this analyze a period before the compare a period before the experiment and a period after the experiment, and get distilled sterile statistics and significance, and understand whether the result we are getting is even significant at all. Yeah.
Very, very nice and comprehensive answer. I like that.
Sorry.
No, that's great. Very nice segue to the next question would be, yeah, so we have all these tools, like all the different panelists was mentioning, different tools for different purposes, different kind of data, but in the end of the day, you need to also share to management what is most important. So, question here is, what are the key KPIs that you report, that you track? Why is it important? And how frequently do you report this?
We track, on the first level, we track keyword rankings and also the installs connected to that through the Google console, the information that we have, and also the combination between the search and explore traffic. The next key KPI that we really look at is the conversion rate, both for the organic installs that we're getting and also the non-organic channels. And the last level and the KPI that really matters is looking at the organic and also the organic compared to the non-organic retention rates and uninstall rates.
I want to add that everyone looks downloads, like organic downloads and search. And what we also do, and we're able to automate within our platform, is that, well, recently, like last year, one of the best things to happen to Google search is that they give out data for like installs per keyword and retention and monetization, and that's really great data. And what we do is that we collect all those words daily and we group them into categories. So we group them into brand keywords, we group them into like misspelling brand namings like ASO brand, we group them into competitors and general, which is everything else. And why we do that is because like conversion rates, they differ so much among them and install rates, and that whenever we do some kind of change to the app page or to like text optimization, they impact all those like groups differently, because historically obviously like conversion for brand is always the highest, and sometimes like that's over maybe 60-70% of all your search. So you might not see that much of a change in like conversion rate, like actually when you've been like doing something to that page. But when you look into the other groups, let's say competitors or general, they're like much more fluctuative, and you can really impact those kind of like users that found your app like not from your brand name. And we monitor that, and when we see, let's say there's an increase in like general installs, that means like great ASO has been done, or like conversion rate as well. Like it might not really be seen overall because there's so much brand and it just stays the same. But then if you look at like competitors general or ASO brand, you see there might be a growth, there might be a result. That's answering, like there was a past question about how maybe, you know, running a test, an experiment, and then you don't really see a change in the end conversion rate. And sometimes like dividing that sort of like data into groups, it helps to really see the change, because obviously we report to clients like within Mail.ru, like we are part of a central marketing team, and we need to somehow like show them if there is or not an impact.
I would just add to that, as you were talking, I thought about that when we also are monitoring the keywords, and we can also learn things when the market is changing, not having to do with our keyword efforts in our ASO. Back in March, Google made a policy change that very much affected caller ID, dialer recording apps, and we were able to see and monitor and understand the fluctuation in the rankings of how that affected us and in the real traffic and downloads.
Okay, next up is about challenges with the data that you have. So we talked a little bit about the tools, we talked a little bit about what's important, but I'm guessing despite whether is it an external tool, internal tool, there's still different challenges with the data availability today. So what are the main challenges you see with the data availability today? What do you hope to get, and why do you think they are important?
So for me, like one main challenge is really distinguishing what ASO traffic is, so the organic, let's say, and we use Adjust as the mobile marketing partner, and I'm not sure that the organic bucket is actually ASO only. We also have a big spillover from TV, so it's really complex if you have a lot of marketing efforts in a company. It's really hard to actually see what ASO is. But then developer console data, like installs per keywords, really helps to understand where users are coming from, what type of users are there. But again, the developer consoles have so many issues with data reliability, with simple things that I feel that would change so much in my job, but they're just there. Like for example, the fact that App Store search source in App Store Connect has organic and paid data, for example. And if I report on two platforms, then none of the other stakeholders in the company understand that I'm actually reporting on organic plus paid here and only organic here. So yeah, that's the developer console issues. And For third-party tools, I would say it's also small things like that could be implemented in the tool, which would help with my work a lot. But so I tend to request these things to the tools, for example, to customer service basically, and like I really appreciate the tools that are really listening to this and that they have customer support that replies quickly. So I would say this should be like a very important decision. A factor for deciding for a particular tool. Are they open? Are they listening to us as ASO practitioners? Are they implementing a lot of new features? So I appreciate that in tools like AppTweak, AppFollow, for example. Whereas, for example, the keyword tool for Sensor Tower has been dead, I think, for several years now, actually. Sorry it took so long.
Yeah, totally. And actually, I think that, the main challenge with data, and you guys would probably agree with me or not, is data itself. And too many sources. And every tool would have its own measurements and numbers. And eventually, I believe that it's up to a decision, like which tool would we use as a single source of truth, and how we can make all other tools support this single source of truth, ignoring all conflicting figures at all. For example, at Skyscanner we have native statistics from App Store and Google Play. We have AppsFlyer data in Tableau, and this is our single source of truth. And we made sure that all other tools that we use, they just support the data we have right there. If there is any conflicting metric, I would personally simply ignore it because, again, it's about, I believe, my opinion, it's about defining a single source of truth for you. Yeah.
I want to add just like for me, the biggest pain in the data that we can get from Google Play and iTunes is that they the iTunes Analytics or the Developer Console, they don't take into account redownloads. And for some apps, redownloads can be more than 50% of all their traffic, and that could be organic traffic as well. But then you look at the sources and you analyze. It's not in it's not in the search or paid or whatever source. It's just buried somewhere. And let's say you don't see those installs at all, but you're working towards them. So I feel like iTunes and Google Play, they should incorporate that into the data, because Google also takes into account only first-time installers.
Okay, interesting. Across the day, with the different topics, there was a lot of the speakers were covering experimentation as well in multiple different topics. But what I would be very interested is, how are you guys thinking of experimentation? Are you only thinking about it from a Google Play Store perspective, then iOS? How do you think about both platforms? How do you balance that? And what exactly is success? Of course, we know what are the basic measurables that are available, but what is success? How do you deem it successful? I'm curious to hear.
Who wants to start? Tough question, huh?
Tough one. One of our recent experiment that I did that I define as a success is I ran an experiment on a custom store listing. The listing is for English speakers in India, which is our main market. And I ran a test for the short description, comparing our English main listing with two different variants. One which was performed well on our Google Universal Ads. I wanted to see how it worked in the short description as well. And the other one was a half English Hindi combination of a title that I took as a variation from something that one of our users had made as their YouTube video title. Well, that was a review about Icon. The video itself was popular, so I wanted to see how it performed within the context of the short description. And I found within the test that the YouTube variant that was this weird half English Hindi title actually performed better than the other two variants, which I thought was really interesting and also something great to get from the custom store listings, because obviously I would never have a title like that on my main listing, short description. Going forward, I'm planning on iterating based on that result to refine and improve it more.
Yeah, and Skyscanner actually, like, I believe that experimentation is quite a challenge for both Google Play and App Store. And Skyscanner, like most of us guys, we are quite frequent users of Google Play experimentation tool. And however, our question was last year whether we can trust results we see in Google Play experiments. And well, last year we did a bit of math science, and we analyzed all our previous experiments on Google Play that identified a clear winner actually, and had really nice confidence level. And we compared the results we got with actual results in data after the change was applied. Well, guess what? I actually heard that there is Google PM here somewhere, so let's chat. And guess what? After we analyzed all these results, there were no or negative impact on our actual data on Google Play. So I'm not trying to say right now that Google Play Experiments is a bad tool, and not at all, especially right now as guys working hard to update it with new features. However, my point here is that it is very hard on both App Store and Google Play to create a sterile environment for your experiment and remove all influence and factors. However, we know that it is one of the main requirements for valid A/B testing, like statistical requirement, right? And so. Therefore, no matter we run experiments on Google Play or uncontrolled experiments on the App Store, or if we used such tools as split metrics, we would first calculate sample size specifically meaningful for Skyscanner. We would calculate minimum likely detectable effect, and first we would aim at these specific numbers when running our experiments rather than just relying on winner identification in Google. And second, we would really invest time into measuring results and double checking results with causal impact after a change is applied. And actually this is true not only for Google Play experiments, not only for conversion rate optimization experiments, but for keyword optimization experiments as well, checking the causal impact.
We've once accidentally, quite a while ago, we ran a Google experiment and accidentally, as the test variant, inputted the same app icon, and we ran the test. And after several days it was marked as complete, the current was winning, but we realized that it's the same app icon. So I think it just sums it up how Google Play experiments work sometimes.
Well, I'm also finding it hard to analyze data from Google Play experiments.
Окей, кстати, это объясняет, почему у меня проблемы с Google экспериментами.
That sums it all. It seems that we are running a little bit out of time. We have a couple of more questions here, but I'm wondering if there's any questions from the audience that's burning. I think we can take one magic question if anybody wants to ask anything. If not...
Are there any local instruments which you can use in specific locales?
Can you hear that, or can you repeat it again?
Local instruments.
Are there any local instruments you can use in specific locales?
Is there any local instruments that you can use in any specific locales?
Для арабов, например, какой-то специальный инструмент.
Я понял. Do you mean reporting? I mean, as a tool that shows local data, or local ASO changes?
Let's say that Google Experiments is an international instrument which is available everywhere, and you know some kind of insights, and you know some local instruments which work only in specific regions or countries?
So I would probably say, in terms of conversion rate optimization, they are mostly global. However, when it comes to App Store optimization and specifically keyword optimization, here we have challenges. And so sometimes global things such as sensor tower, they just simply didn't have data for such markets as, I don't know, like Russia or Arabic languages or Asian markets. So therefore, for these localizations, we would go and find tools that would serve our needs, if it answers your question.
We use the Baidu keyword tool for Chinese language because obviously Google does not give any real data for China, but then you can use Baidu, so that's kind of a local solution.
And then for the Russian market, I think
and yeah, for the Russian market as well, I forgot, like there's there's Yandex, which gives like Yandex Word Stat, which gives like search data for, well, it's like more used than Google.
Okay, so I think being mindful of time, since we are in Germany, we have like 10 seconds, and I would say like thank you everybody, all the panelists, to share their experiences. Yeah, feel free to reach out if you need to know more. Thank you.